received the recommendation regarding Susan's appeal of her suspension from Judge Peterson. Didn't know if all of you had received a copy of that. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's 33 pages long. I'm just going to read the recommendation so members of the public and make sure all the board members have heard the recommendation. If you do have a copy, it's on page 29. And in this one, it mentions petitioners referring to the school board responding to Susan. Based on the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, it is recommended that a final order be entered by the petitioner, Holmes County School Board. Number 1, dismissing the charge of gross insubordination against respondent and setting aside any discipline subsequent to respondent's suspension with pay and reprimand received in December 2014. Item number 2, dismissing the allegations set forth in the notice of charges to the extent that they seek to impose or support any discipline subsequent, important word there, to respondent suspension with pay and reprimand received in December 2014. And number 3, reimbursing respondent for the 5 days of pay that respondent did not receive during her suspension from January 12, 2015 through January 16, 2015, plus interest as appropriate under applicable law. Once again, thank you for your time. Just wanted to make sure everybody did at least know the recommendation section. If anybody needs a copy, wants a copy of the judge's order, they're available. They're also available on the Division of Administrative Hearings website. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else would. Board, next item is recognition of high impact teachers.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't ask, was there anybody else that wanted to speak?
We have to fill these cards out. Now they're on the desk.
When did this start? The last time I come to a meeting, you had a public speaking section, and you had a certain amount of time allotted for people to get up there and stand and speak.
2 or 3 months ago. About 2 months ago.
Mr. Chairman, can we make an exception?
That's all right. I'll wait till the next meeting.
You know, we can,
Because he didn't know about
if she
it.
didn't know anything about it, I'll make an exception today. Yeah.
Okay. Thank y'all, by the way. Randy Henry, Barnaby, Florida. I've been talking to a few parents up in the Bethel community about the baseball situation. I'm under the impression that the board voted or told them that whatever they needed, they was going to be able to get. Since then, I've talked to, and I appreciate that. My son doesn't play baseball, but I do follow along on things like that concern me. When 2 years ago, every parent that had a child playing put in $100 to go buy equipment with. When Mr. Powell was coaching there and was transferred to Bonneville, the equipment was still there. When the last coach left and they get there this year, when the last coach left from last year and they get ready to start this year, there's no equipment to be found. Apparently some of it showed back up, some of it hasn't, I don't know. But what I wanted to talk about was y'all give them the permission to go get what they need. I know this is not the time, but at a future date, I would like to know who made the decisions to buy a $6,000 lawnmower when we got kids that don't have enough hats. They have to swap hats coming in and out of the dugout. If a kid comes off the bench to play, he has to take a hat from somebody that's coming off the field. But they can buy a $6,000 lawnmower when they got a $12,000 lawnmower sitting there in the shed. Somebody, I would like to find out the answer to these questions.
Was that Bethlehem?
Yes. My understanding is that there was one baseball bat bought and a little bit of equipment. And then a $6,000 lawnmower. If it's not true, forgive me, but it's what was told to me. Some of the parents, and not just one, but some of the parents that kids were playing. and it does concern me because that is my community up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Okay. The next item on the agenda is recognition of high impact teachers.
We have one teacher with us this morning, Miss Mandy Boyd from Holmes County High School. Two. I'm sorry. I didn't see her. Anyway. Miss Valerie Wink from Bonfim Middle School. Y'all come along. Yeah.
It is in behind you.
Okay. Anyway. Miss Smith, she was okay, so I missed two of them, my bad. Anyway, these three ladies, we actually had 10 teachers recognized. And what is the high impact teachers in the county? The state does an analysis on BAM scores and state testing. And these three ladies were considered one of the 10 highest in the district of Holmes County. And I'm very proud of them. I've been to see each one of them personally back before spring break. And one worked with me for 5 years in the high school, so I know her very well. And honestly, I thought you were a student over here, I'm sorry. I didn't see Shirley, so. But anyway, Valerie went from middle school, Shirley Smith from Bethlehem, and Mandy Boyd from Holmes County High School. Very, very proud of them. We actually had 10 teachers recognized. Some of them couldn't be here this morning because they are prepping for the FSA test with the younger students right now, and so they'll come and do another meeting. But I'm very proud of these ladies, and they work hard. I know what they do. And they do a lot of things they don't get paid to do sometimes to try to help children. And I definitely appreciate that. I know the board appreciates it. And I appreciate y'all coming for this recognition. I really do. So with that,
Next item on the agenda is overnight out-of-state trip.
got the following trips. Bethlehem High School, April 1st and 3rd, to Embry-Riddle for a student day down in Daytona. Holmes County High School's Key Club, going to Leadership Conference in Orlando, April 28th through May the 1st. And third one is Popper Springs, May the 9th through the 13th, their senior trip to St. Augustine, Florida. I recommend we approve these 3 trips.
Pleasure, board.
I move we approve the overnight and out-of-state trips.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to approve those overnight out-of-state trips. Are there any questions? Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, unanimous. Next item is exemption for operating the summer feeding program for 35 days.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the board's approval to be exempt from operating the summer program from 35 days to 24 days.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move we accept this recommendation.
Here a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve feeding program for the summer. Any questions from Ms. Bush?
This is what we typically do, isn't it? We
Yes,
shorten
ma'am. We didn't have it last summer, but we were planning to have it this summer for the times that we'll have wings in the schools and summer school.
Any other questions?
This is off topic, but can you tell me, I know I'd asked it in one of the last meetings and you weren't here, on the lunch program, how are we financially with the free lunches?
Basically, every month so far this year, our reimbursement claims have been $20,000 to $30,000 above what we received last year. So last time I checked, we were operating in the black food service for this year.
Can you tell me how that works? Because I don't understand how free lunches can make us money.
Okay. We qualify for reimbursement from the USDA. So last year, we had 78% of our students that qualified for free reduced lunch. So those students, if we have students that qualify for free lunch, then when we count their lunch and we submit our claim to the USDA, they reimburse us $3.15 for that school lunch for that student. And so last year we had 78% at that rate. This year, because we participate in the community eligibility provision, we have 88% that we can get reimbursed for at the free rate. So that rate's increased. So we receive more reimbursements this year, even though it's free to the students, the government is reimbursing us for all of it.
Thank you.
I would like to say I was out of school visiting yesterday, and it happened to be at lunchtime, and it was packed in there, and the principal said that he had to add tables this year, that he had a lot more people eating, because apparently the food, I mean, I know it's still school lunches, but apparently the food, the kids are liking it better. But he had said he had to add new tables to accommodate the people who were eating lunch, and this was high school students.
Right. We have more students participating in eating lunch.
Any other questions or comments?
Part of the program, part of the thing about this no charge lunch and breakfast, that having been a high school principal, a lot of kids in high school, and even middle school to some degree, will not apply for free lunch even though they qualify for it because they're embarrassed about it. And this way, nobody knows who's free, who's not, who's anything. And so it's a dignity thing with a lot of these kids being able to eat and not have the stigma that they've had in the past. So to me, that's one of the best parts about it.
Any other comment? Take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Corbett?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Next item's consent agenda. Pleasure, board.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Get a motion second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions? No question, we'll take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Next item is personnel recommendations.
I recommend the following. Hire Jesse Brown, A, 3 at Ponce Elementary School. Haley Harris, ESC 8 at BES. Deanna Shira, lunchroom worker at BES. Karen Watson, 10-month custodian at BES. Crystal Carroll, 10-month custodian at BES. Accept the resignation from employment on Jennifer Braxton, teacher at BES, effective May 31st. Julie Short, teacher at BES, effective May 31st. Lucinda Brown, teacher at BES, effective August 1st, and these are all through retirements. Hire for the wing substitutes, effective March 21st. Sheila Bailey, Christine Lowen, Lisa Matthews, Lisa Merchant, Crystal Messer, Sharon Palmer, and Ann Watkins. Amend the ending date on maternity leave of absence on Ashley Mosley from January 5th, 16 through 6/30/16. Amend the ending date on maternity leave of absence on Amy Petty, teacher BES, from January 1st, 12/16 to 6/30/16.
Very good. Superintendent's personnel recommendations, what's the pleasure of the board?
I recommend we approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the personnel recommendation by the superintendent. Got any questions? comments? We'll take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Gomez?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The next item is the staff recommendation regarding the recommended order of Holmes County School Board versus Ms. Steverson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good morning to you and the board. To give the board an update, as Mr. Steverson said earlier, we received the recommended order of the DOA magistrate last Thursday afternoon. To give the board a brief debriefing on where you're at in the process under Florida Statute 12057, your options are to accept the recommended order and proceed under the recommended order, or you may also under 12057 basically reject or modify the order and file exceptions within 15 days. If you do so, you have to basically substitute your opinion or conclusion of law for the DOA judge. Based on the totality of the circumstances and looking at the big picture and out of respect for the process itself, it would be my recommendation at this time to accept the recommended order of the DOA judge and to take affirmative action on that recommendation today.
Y'all heard the recommendation. What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we accept that recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept the recommendation. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment. First of all, I wanted to say I didn't receive the copy of the judge's recommendation until about 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and that was because the attorney sent it to me. I think this is very important that we would have it as soon as the superintendent got it, but did any of the other school board members get it before today or yesterday or?
I have it today.
Today. Well, I read it thoroughly, and I agree wholeheartedly with it, and but with this, my concern is with this being a matter that the school board is going to be voting on, we should have this in our hands as soon as the district office gets it, which we didn't. And this is an important decision the school board makes, and we are the governing body of the school board, and the last time I checked, I was a school board member, and I should be getting this information. In the statute, it says the school board has the authority to terminate the employment or suspend teachers without pay. Ms. Steverson was not found guilty of any gross insubordination by the judge, and he dismissed all the allegations. So since these allegations were dismissed, in my opinion, this should be taken out of her records, and she should be moved back to her teaching position at Bethlehem. She was involuntarily transferred to the Gap, and I think it's in the best interest of our children for her to be teaching a 28-year teacher instead of an intern fresh out of school. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have something I'd like to say. I normally just kind of shoot straight from the heart when I'm speaking, but I had a few comments I wanted to make sure I got across, and so I kind of put this down on paper this week. And so bear with me, I'm just going to read something regarding this case. I want to thank all of you first for being here this morning and your interest in our school district and in this case. Appreciate the enthusiasm and the passion that has been shown and demonstrated during this entire process. I believe we as a board always want to make the right decision and do what is best for our students, faculty, and staff. In this current situation, the board's decision did not align with the judge's ruling. I do believe if it was all to do again, maybe different things would be decided, different decisions would be made by all parties involved. But it is my hope that we all have learned something from these proceedings and will be better individuals because of it. As a believer, I feel nothing happens by chance, but that all things happen for a reason. I hope that we as a board will be stronger than ever and more devoted and focused on furthering the education of the students of Holmes County. I covet the passion shown for this case to be shown for the general betterment of our district and not just when something controversial arises. I would ask all of you to lift this board and county administration along with our staff, our faculty, our students up into prayers that we may do the very best job we have been called to do. And I thank you for being here this morning. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Justice.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to.
Okay, Mr. Dixon.
Okay. As you know, a few weeks ago, I wrote this down here, so a hearing was held between the school district and Ms. Susan Steverson. This was her challenge to the decision to suspend her for 5 days without pay for gross insubordination. The hearing was conducted by an administrative law judge who had been assigned to take the case 24 hours earlier. Last week, that same judge issued his proposed recommendation order. Although the judge agreed with most of the facts supporting the decision to suspend, he came to the conclusion that Ms. Steverson did not commit gross insubordination and recommendation that the school district reimburse Ms. Steverson for the 5-day suspension. The judge based his recommendation on one fact: what was said at the parent meeting by Ms. Steverson and whether the statements by Ms. Steverson at that one meeting constituted gross insubordination. I understand the logic he applied, however, I respectfully disagree with his conclusion. He focused on a single 15-minute event in isolation when in reality her conduct at the parent meeting was one piece of a much larger puzzle over 2 years of Ms. Steverson's confrontations with 2 different Bethlehem principals. I recommended her suspension based on the 2 years the superintendent dealing with Ms. Steverson's insubordinate behavior towards Bethlehem administrators. I was concerned that the leadership and authority that is absolutely necessary for a school to function was being undermined. Principal Jones officially reprimanded her for reading an unapproved statement to students indicating he was hindering her ability to teach to her classes and refusing to give him a copy of it when requested. This statement was written in response to him asking her to stop locking children in the halls unsupervised and being more reasonable with her classroom rules. The parent meeting occurred a couple of weeks after the written reprimand. I viewed the parent meeting as a continuation of the behavior of Ms. Steverson for which she was given a reprimand. The next step on our progressive discipline plan was suspension without pay, and that's why I made the recommendation. I'd already spoken to Ms. Steverson on a couple of occasions about the serious nature of being insubordinate toward her principal to no avail. As stated to you by Mr. Goodman, the school board now has a choice to file exceptions to this proposed recommended order and can, after a review of the record, adopt or reject the judge's recommendations. Although I strongly disagree with his findings and his recommendations, especially with some of his factual findings not being accurate, I feel it is in the best interest of the school system as a whole to accept the administrative law judge's recommendation and move on with our greater mission of teaching children. As superintendent, and I know you as school board members will continue to support administrators who operate our schools and care for our children. My expectations for both faculty and staff will continue to be very high as we move forward, and this recommendation order will not alter my goal of making the difference in the lives of children each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Anybody else got a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say the judge found her innocent, and she should be considered innocent for all that she's been put through. I apologize for everything that you were put through. And this shouldn't happen to our teachers. And it all falls down to administration, in my opinion. If this was handled correctly, it would have never gotten this far to this point. Thank you.
Anything else? Take a vote. Mr. Justice.
I vote to uphold the judge's ruling.
Ms. Corbett.
Yes.
Ms. Owens.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. That concludes everything on the agenda for today. Attorney, you got any comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think we have a little hearing after this we got to take care of, so if we'll break and stick around, that would be great.
Mr. Dixon.
No comments.
Mr. Justice.
Congratulations to a lot of our students in Benton County that went to the state FBLA convention, I guess you might say, but had some students do very well, very proud of all of you, and some of them are here today, right? So I appreciate all that you did and representing our county very well, and I believe we have several of them moving on to national competition, I do believe. So I'm a little biased, my daughter was one of those, so anyway, but thank you all. That's it.
Mr. Corbett.
Yes, I wanted to say something about the high impact teachers. I want to congratulate them, and I know that they've worked hard and they've been dedicated to these students to bring their grades up. And I feel like we should do something more than just say congratulations, that we should have some kind of reception or give them a couple of hours comp time or something to reward them. I mean, I don't understand why we don't do more for the teachers, but I do appreciate them and congratulate them for that. And there was one question I had on the water tower. What is the status of our water and sewer for the new school? Do we have it?
We're fine. We figured out a way not to have to use a water tower. We're gonna run water from a new well that the city put down close to the REA building around Santab. Sewer's gonna run straight underneath the football field, basically over to a lift station at Noah Hospital. All that's gonna be paid for out of a grant in addition to the school funding. Pebble Reach out of Panama City is working on that for us right now, and it'll actually benefit the city of Bonifay quite a bit on that side of town, water pressure. There's a serious lack in water pressure in that Santab area, and this will actually help the city of Bonifay as much as it helps us. So that's the status.
So the sewer and water is not coming from is it coming from the city of
Yeah,
Bonifay?
it is.
Okay.
We're just having to take a
We'll be
direct
tapping
line.
into there.
We're gonna take a direct line from the new school and the high school straight through, that only will be on, to the lift station, which is right over here close to the old hospital, and we'll go directly to the plant down here. The water is coming from a new well they dug a couple of years ago, right across the REA administration building down there, on St. John's and sticking around. But that water will be able to have, like LKQ, have water pressure for a fire suppression system, which will lower their insurance rates, that kind of thing. So it's gonna be a big win for the city of Bonifay and for the school.
Thank you. And were you able to order the law books or the statute books that we were asked for at the last workshop?
I think Mr. Brown's working on that, yeah. I mean, we were off on spring break last week for weeks. I think he's.
And I have one other comment. We do the cards now for the public to speak. If they're filling out the card and giving it to the chairman, they shouldn't have to state their name and address, correct? And that's the way they do it in most meetings. They fill out the card and then they don't have to say their address and they can just say their name. Is that right, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, the board's got discretion as a matter of policy how it wants to effectuate it. It can have them do just the card or the card and state it for the record if somebody's taking minutes and wants to put it in the minutes. So it's really the board's pleasure on what you want to do with that. You could either do it just with the card or do it both ways. It's the board's pleasure.
I know the only thing noted is their name in the minutes, so I just thought we didn't need to say their address again once they got it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ms. Over?
No comment.
Chair had no comment. Next item is adjournment. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Mr. Chair, the executive session, please.
Yeah. Here we have an executive session. Here a second.
Second.
Take a vote. Justin?
Yes.
Comment?
Yes.
Ms. Over?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We adjourn for a few minutes and we'll come back with the